The chamber was enormous, built to make visitors feel small. Ji-hoon Park stood in the center of the circular room, surrounded by hundreds of alien delegates who looked down at him from their elevated seats. He had been humanity's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 10 years now. He knew this room well. He knew the faces that stared at him with barely hidden contempt. Today felt different. Today felt final. The council speaker, a towering insectoid creature named Zix-Thar, raised one of his 4 arms. The murmuring voices fell silent. His mandibles clicked together as he prepared to speak. Ambassador Park, the Galactic Council has reached a decision regarding the human question. Ji-hoon kept his face calm. Inside, his heart pounded. 50 years. For 50 years, humanity had tried to be good neighbors to the galaxy. They followed every rule. They accepted every restriction. They smiled and bowed, while the Council treated them like children who needed constant supervision. The Council has determined that human expansion poses a threat to galactic stability, Zix-Thar continued. His voice echoed through the chamber. Your species is too aggressive, too unpredictable, too dangerous to be allowed unrestricted growth. Ji-hoon said nothing. He had heard these words before, in various forms. Humanity was always too something, too ambitious, too curious, too different. Therefore, the Council hereby orders the immediate evacuation of all human colonies beyond the Sol system. You have 1 standard year to comply. Any humans remaining in restricted space after this period will be removed by force. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Ji-hoon felt the weight of them settle on his shoulders. Around the chamber, alien delegates nodded their approval. Some looked satisfied. Others looked relieved. They wanted humanity gone. They always had. And to Div, this is not negotiable, Zix-Thar added. The vote was unanimous. Ji-hoon finally spoke. His voice was steady, professional. May I ask the reasoning behind this decision? Humanity has violated no laws. We have started no wars. Our colonies are peaceful and productive. A reptilian delegate named Threx stood up. He was the Council's military commander, massive and covered in thick scales. Your colonies grow too fast. Your population expands too quickly. Your technology advances at an alarming rate. In another century, you will outnumber many of the Council's founding members. So this is about fear, Ji-hoon said quietly. This is about order, another delegate shouted. The galaxy has been stable for 10,000 years. Humanity threatens that stability. Ji-hoon wanted to laugh. Stable? The Council's idea of stability was a system where a few old species controlled everything. Trade routes, technology, colonization rights. The Council decided who could grow and who could not. Any species that became too successful found themselves facing restrictions, embargoes, and sanctions. Humanity was not the first to be pushed down. They were just the latest. But they were also different in one important way. Humanity remembered. Humanity prepared. I request 30 days to bring this decision to my government, Ji-hoon said. The delegates looked at each other. Zix-Thar's antennae twitched. Very well. 30 days. But understand, Ambassador Park, this decision will not change. Humanity will comply, or humanity will face the consequences. Ji-hoon bowed slightly, the gesture diplomatic and proper. Then he turned and walked out of the chamber. His footsteps echoed on the polished floor. He could feel hundreds of eyes watching him leave. The walk to his ship felt longer than usual. Ji-hoon's aide, a young woman named Soo-jin Lee, met him at the docking bay. She took one look at his face and knew. They did it, she said. They actually did it. 1 year, Ji-hoon confirmed. We evacuate, or they come for us. Soo-jin's hands clenched into fists. After everything we've done, after all the compromises, all the insults we've swallowed, Ji-hoon placed a hand on her shoulder. Start the encrypted channel. Priority 1. I need to speak with the president immediately. Inside the ship, Ji-hoon sat in his private quarters and allowed himself a moment of anger. 50 years. 50 years of playing nice. Of being patient. Of pretending to be weak and harmless while the council pushed them around. Every trade embargo. Every technology ban. Every insult about human aggression, while the council's own members conquered and subjugated younger species. Humanity had endured it all, with grace and diplomacy. The council thought they knew humanity. They thought humans were soft. They pointed to Earth's bloody history and called humanity violent, never looking at their own past. They saw human emotion and called it weakness, never understanding it was strength. They were wrong about everything. The communication console chimed. President Min-jun Kim's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired, but alert. I heard. The council made their move. 1 year, Mr. President. Full evacuation or military enforcement? The president nodded slowly. Then we're out of time for diplomacy. Yes, sir. How many delegates supported the decision? All of them. Unanimous vote. President Kim's expression hardened. They think we'll just leave. They think we'll abandon millions of colonists because they're afraid of us. That's exactly what they think, sir. A long silence filled the communication channel. Ji-hoon knew what was coming. They all knew. This moment had been anticipated for decades. Return to Earth, Ambassador Park, the president finally said. We have preparations to make. The council thinks they've cornered us. They're about to learn they've made a terrible mistake. Ji-hoon felt something shift inside him. Relief, perhaps. Or maybe it was resolve. What should I tell them when I return in 30 days? President Kim's smile was cold and determined. Tell them, humanity's answer is no. We're done being the galaxy's punching bag. We're done playing nice. The communication ended. Ji-hoon sat back in his chair and looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, human colonies thrived. Families lived and worked and dreamed of the future. Children played in parks on worlds humanity had terraformed and built from nothing. The council wanted to take all of that away. They wanted to push humanity back into one solar system and keep them there forever. They pushed too far. 30 days. The countdown had begun. But it was not a countdown to evacuation. It was a countdown to the moment when the galaxy learned the truth about humanity. The moment when the nice humans stopped pretending. The emergency session convened in the deepest levels of Earth Strategic Command. President Min-jun Kim sat at the head of a long table surrounded by humanity's most important leaders, military commanders, intelligence directors, colonial governors, and senior diplomats filled the room. Every face was grim. Ji-hoon Park stood at the presentation console, the council's ultimatum displayed on the screens behind him. He had delivered the news exactly as he received it. Now came the response. 1 year, President Kim said quietly. They give us 1 year to abandon everything we've built beyond Sol System. Admiral Sarah Chen spoke up. She was the head of Earth's defense forces, a woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. 47 million people. Hundreds of billions of credits in infrastructure. They expect us to just walk away. They expect us to have no choice, said Governor Dae-jung Cho, who represented the outer colonies. They think we're helpless. They think we're helpless. Are we? Asked another voice. It was Foreign Minister Hassan Abdullah. Can we actually stand against the entire Galactic Council? They have hundreds of member species. Thousands of warships. They've controlled the galaxy for 10,000 years. The room fell silent. It was the question everyone was thinking. Could humanity really defy the council? Director of Intelligence, Young Soo-nam, stood up slowly. He was a thin man with careful eyes who rarely spoke in meetings. When he did, people listened. Mr. President, I believe it's time to share what we've been working on. President Kim nodded. Go ahead, Director. Young Soo walked to the presentation console and began entering commands. The screens changed, showing maps of human space with hundreds of markers. For the past 50 years, while the Council has been restricting and limiting us, we've been preparing. Every insult we endured, every embargo we accepted, every humiliation we suffered, all of it bought us time. New images appeared on the screens. Military installations, defense platforms, weapons systems. When the Council banned us from purchasing advanced weapons, we built our own. When they restricted our access to strategic resources, we found new sources. When they tried to isolate us diplomatically, we made friends with the younger species they ignored. Admiral Chen leaned forward, her eyes widening. How much are we talking about? Every human colony has hidden defense networks, Young Su explained. What the Council thinks are commercial stations are actually military fortifications. What they think are research outposts are forward operating bases. We've been building this for decades. More images flashed on the screens. Warships under construction in hidden shipyards. Massive defense satellites positioned throughout human space. Advanced weapons systems that matched or exceeded anything the Council possessed. The commercial vessels that have been traveling to remote systems? Young Su continued. Scouts and surveyors, mapping strategic positions. The mining operations in asteroid fields? Cover for military supply depots. The scientific expeditions to unexplored regions? Reconnaissance missions. Governor Cho stared at the screens in amazement. I've been running New Sol Colony for 15 years. You're telling me we have military installations I don't know about? Hidden in plain sight, Governor, Young Su said. Those processing facilities outside the capital? They manufacture weapons components. The emergency shelters every colony is required to have? They double as command bunkers. The civilian defense volunteers? You trained? They received military-grade instruction. Ji-hoon felt a strange mix of emotions. Pride that humanity had been so clever. Concern about the deception involved. Relief that they were not as helpless as he had feared. What about allies? President Kim asked. Young Su smiled, the first time Ji-hoon had ever seen the serious man show emotion. Ambassador Park has been very successful in making friends. The younger species have been watching how the Council treats us. Many of them face similar restrictions. They're tired of being controlled. 10. The Kalesh? Admiral Chen asked, naming a reptilian species that had been friendly with humanity. Waiting for our signal, Young Su confirmed. Same with the Torvins, the Meklar, and at least a dozen other species. They won't openly oppose the Council yet, but once we take a stand, they'll follow. Foreign Minister Abdullah shook his head in disbelief. We've been playing a 50-year game, making the Council think we're weak while building our strength in secret. It was the only way, President Kim said. If we showed our true capabilities too early, the Council would have crushed us before we were ready. We needed time to grow strong. We needed the Council to underestimate us. And they did, Ji-hoon added. They still do. They think one ultimatum will send us running. Admiral Chen stood up and walked to the screens, studying the military data. If this information is accurate, we can defend our colonies. Not easily. And not without losses. But we can hold them. I hope. The question is, should we? Foreign Minister Abdullah said. Fighting the Council means war. Real war. People will die. Ships will be destroyed. Even if we win, the cost will be enormous. The room grew quiet again. Everyone knew he was right. War was terrible. War meant death and suffering. Even a defensive war would hurt humanity badly. President Kim looked around the table, meeting each person's eyes. I won't make this decision alone. This affects all of humanity. We vote. If we fight and lose, the Council might destroy us completely, someone pointed out. If we don't fight, we lose anyway, Governor Cho countered. We lose our colonies. We lose our future. We go back to being confined in one system, while the Council keeps us weak forever. They'll never stop, Ji-hoon said quietly. Even if we evacuate now, they'll find other reasons to restrict us. Today, it's the colonies. Tomorrow, it will be our population. Next year, our technology. The Council fears strong species. They'll keep pushing us down until we're no threat at all. Admiral Chen nodded. The ambassador is right. This is about more than colonies. This is about whether humanity has the right to determine its own future. President Kim called for the vote. All in favor of refusing the Council's ultimatum and defending our colonies. President Kim. All. President Kim called colonies. Hands rose around the table. One by one, every person voted yes. Even Foreign Minister Abdullah, who feared war, raised his hand. It's unanimous, President Kim said. We stand and fight. He turned to Admiral Chen. You have operational command. Prepare our forces. Codename. Operation Backbone. To Ji-hoon he said, in 30 days, you return to the Council. You deliver our answer. They'll threaten military action, Ji-hoon warned. Let them, the President replied. We're done backing down. We're done apologizing for being successful. We're done letting the Council dictate humanity's future. To Young-soo he said, contact our allies. Tell them it's time. If they want to stand with us, now is the moment. To everyone in the room he said, 50 years ago, humanity reached the stars and found we were not welcome. We were told to be quiet, to be small, to know our place. We accepted that because we were not ready. But we used that time well. We prepared. We planned. We grew strong. President Kim's voice grew firm. The Galactic Council pushed us too far. They thought we would always play nice. They were wrong. In 30 days, they learn what happens when you corner humanity. They learn that our patience was not weakness. It was preparation. The meeting ended with everyone knowing what came next. The countdown to confrontation had begun. Throughout human space, hidden forces began to activate. Defense systems came online. Soldiers prepared for deployment. Warships moved into position. The galaxy thought it knew humanity. Peaceful, compliant, easy to control. In 30 days, the galaxy would discover the truth. 30 days passed like a storm approaching on the horizon. Throughout human space, preparations continued. Defense platforms received their final checks. Soldiers said goodbye to their families. Diplomats sent encrypted messages to allies across the galaxy. Now Ji-hoon Park stood once again in the Galactic Council chamber. The same elevated seats. The same contemptuous faces looking down at him. But everything felt different. This time, Ji-hoon was not here to listen. He was here to speak. Zixthar, the council speaker, addressed him with barely hidden satisfaction. Ambassador Park, your 30 days have concluded. Has humanity prepared the evacuation schedules? Ji-hoon stood straight and spoke clearly. His voice carried through the chamber and beyond it, broadcast on every galactic frequency. This message was not just for the Council. It was for everyone. The United Earth government has reviewed the Council's ultimatum. We have discussed it thoroughly. We have considered all options, and we have reached our decision. 1. He paused, letting the moment stretch. Our answer is no. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted in outrage. Zixthar's mandibles clacked together rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. Commander Threx rose from his seat, his massive form radiating anger. Ji-hoon raised his voice. Humanity will not abandon its colonies. We will not condemn 47 million people to exile, because the Council fears our success. We have broken no laws. We have started no wars. We have every right to exist in this galaxy. You dare defy us? Zixthar shouted. You are one species against hundreds. You will be crushed. Perhaps, Ji-hoon said calmly. But before you make that decision, the Council should know some truths. He gestured, and new data began transmitting to every screen in the chamber. Financial records, trade agreements, secret communications. For 10,000 years, the Council has claimed to represent all species fairly. But these documents tell a different story. The displays showed evidence of corruption on a massive scale. Senior Council members had been manipulating trade routes to favor their own species. Technology was kept from younger species to maintain control. Resources were unfairly distributed. The Council was not a fair government. It was a system designed to keep the powerful species in power and everyone else dependent. You claim humanity is dangerous, Ji-hoon continued. But which species has the Council restricted? Not the violent ones. Not the aggressive ones. You restrict species that become too successful, too independent, too strong. You punish success and enforce weakness. More evidence appeared. Examples of other species that had been pushed down over the centuries, promising civilizations that were destroyed or contained before they could challenge Council authority. We are not the first species you've tried to limit, Ji-hoon said. We're just the latest. The difference is we prepared for this day. Around the chamber, delegates from younger species were watching the data with growing anger. Many were seeing the truth about the Council for the first time. Ji-hoon turned his attention to them. The Council has kept you weak. They control your access to resources. They limit your technology. They decide which of you are allowed to grow and which are not. This is not leadership. This is oppression. Enough, Threx roared. His voice shook the chamber. Your words change nothing, human. Your evidence means nothing. The Council has the strength to enforce its will. Then let me offer an alternative, Ji-hoon said. Any species tired of Council control is welcome to stand with humanity. We offer free trade, fair agreements, no restrictions based on fear. We believe in cooperation between equals, not masters and servants. Zixthar's antennae vibrated with rage. You try to divide the Council. You try to steal our members. I offer them freedom, Ji-hoon corrected. Something the Council never has. Several delegates from younger species stood up. A Kalesh representative spoke. The humans speak truth. The Council has restricted our mining rights for 3 centuries, while Council species profit from our resources. A Torvan delegate added. Our technology requests have been denied for 200 years. We remain dependent on Council manufacturers who charge us 3 times fair market value. More voices joined. Species that had quietly suffered under Council rule for generations finally spoke up. The chamber descended into chaos. Silence, Threx commanded. He turned his cold eyes on Ji-hoon. You have made your choice, human. The Council will respond with force. Your colonies will be occupied. Your ships will be destroyed. Your rebellion will end in blood. Ji-hoon met his gaze without fear. You're welcome to try, Commander. But I should warn you. Humanity is not as weak as you believe. You have no military, Threx scoffed. The Council banned you from building warships. Your colonies have minimal defenses. That's what you think, Ji-hoon said softly. You've made many assumptions about humanity, Commander. You assumed we would always comply. You assumed we were helpless. You assumed we would never fight back. You were wrong. About all of it. Impossible. Another delegate said. We monitor your systems. We have intelligence reports. You have what we wanted you to see, Ji-hoon replied. For 50 years, while you insulted us and restricted us, we were preparing. Every commercial station is a military fortress. Every research outpost is an armed base. Every civilian volunteer is a trained soldier. You thought you were containing a weak species. You were actually giving us time to become strong. Threx laughed, a harsh sound. Even if true, you cannot match the Council's military might. I command 3,000 warships. You have nothing that can stand against us. Then prove it, Ji-hoon challenged. Send your fleet to the nearest human colony. See what happens. The chamber fell silent. Ji-hoon's confidence shook them. Either he was bluffing spectacularly, or humanity really did have hidden strength. Zixthar made the decision. Commander Threx, take your fleet to the new Sol colony. Enforce the Council's will. Show these humans the price of defiance. Threx bared his teeth in what might have been a smile. With pleasure, Speaker. The humans will learn to respect Council authority. Quote, Ji-hoon did not look worried. Commander, you're about to make the biggest mistake of your military career. When you approach New Sol, you'll find something unexpected. What? Threx demanded. Humans who refuse to run. Ji-hoon said simply. Humans who are done playing nice. Humans who will show you what 50 years of preparation looks like. Threx turned and left the chamber, taking several military advisors with him. Around the room, delegates watched the screens as Council forces began moving toward human space. Ji-hoon stood calmly in the center of it all. He opened a communication channel to Admiral Chen. They're coming. New Sol will be the first target. Admiral Chen's voice came back steady and strong. We're ready, Ambassador. Let them come. Let them see what humanity really is. Throughout human space, defense systems activated. Hidden platforms powered up. Warships that had been waiting in concealment moved into position. Soldiers took their posts. Civilians moved to protected shelters that were actually fortified bunkers. The Council fleet approached New Sol, hundreds of warships confident in their superiority. They expected frightened colonists. They expected panic and surrender. What they found was a fortress. Defense platforms decloaked all around the colony, revealing massive weapon systems. Human warships emerged from hiding. Their designs, unlike anything the Council had seen. Energy shields activated around the colony itself. Commander Threx stared at the tactical display in disbelief. This is impossible. His tactical officer's voice shook. Commander. We're reading military installations throughout the system. They've been hidden, camouflaged. How wrong? Threx demanded. Very wrong, sir. They can match our firepower. On Earth, President Kim watched the same displays. He opened a channel to all human forces. To every human soldier, sailor, and pilot, preparing for battle. The Council thought we were weak. They thought we would always back down. Today we show them the truth. Today we prove that humanity belongs in this galaxy. Fight well. Fight bravely. Make them remember that we are not prey. We are not victims. We are humanity. And we do not surrender. At New Sol, Admiral Chen gave the order. All defensive units, weapons free. Show them what 50 years of patience bought us. The first shots of the war lit up the darkness of space. The galaxy was about to learn an important lesson. Sometimes the kindest people, when pushed too far, become the most dangerous opponents. The battle for New Sol began with Commander Threx's fleet advancing in standard Council formation. 300 warships moving in precise geometric patterns. A display of overwhelming force meant to intimidate enemies into surrender. It had worked for 10,000 years. It did not work on humanity. Admiral Sarah Chen watched from her flagship, the Incheon, positioned at the heart of New Sol's defense network. Around her, dozens of human warships waited in formation. Behind them, the colony's defense platforms hummed with power. Enemy fleet entering weapons range. Her tactical officer reported. Hold fire, Chen ordered. Let them get closer. Let them think we're hesitating. Quote, Threx's ships continued forward. On his command deck, the reptilian commander studied the human formations with contempt. They positioned themselves to defend. Typical prey behavior. All ships, prepare to fire. Target their command vessel first. But before he could give the order, Chen spoke a single word. Now. What happened next shocked the Council forces. The human ships did not hold formation and exchange fire in traditional naval combat. Instead, they scattered in all directions, moving with speed and agility that seemed impossible for vessels their size. Defense platforms opened fire simultaneously, their weapons striking with precise coordination. Council shields absorbed the first impacts, but the attacks kept coming. Wave after wave of energy and projectiles hammered the Council formation. "Evasive maneuvers," Threx shouted, but his ships were slow to respond. Council doctrine emphasized formation integrity over individual ship mobility. Against most enemies, this worked well. Against humanity's chaotic, unpredictable tactics, it was a weakness. Human ships darted through the Council formation like predators hunting. They targeted weapon systems and engines, crippling rather than destroying. Every shot was calculated. Every movement had purpose. "They fight like nothing I've seen," Threx's tactical officer said, his voice shaking. "No formation. No pattern. How do we counter this?" "Concentrate fire on individual targets," Threx ordered. "Overwhelm them with numbers." But the humans had anticipated this. Whenever Council ships focused on one human vessel, two others would attack from different angles. The humans covered each other, supported each other, adapted to every Council tactic. On the Incheon, Admiral Chen coordinated the defense with calm precision. "Strike Group Alpha. Target their command carrier. Beta Group. Disable those destroyers on the left flank. All defense platforms. Maintain suppressing fire." The battle raged for 3 hours. Council ships began falling back, damaged and confused. Threx's forces outnumbered the humans 3-1. But numbers meant nothing when tactics failed. A communication came through from the Council's military headquarters. "Commander Threx, report. What is your status?" Threx stared at the tactical display showing 15 of his ships disabled and dozens more damaged. The humans had lost only 4 ships. The intelligence was wrong. The humans have significant military capability. Their tactics are highly effective. They fight unlike any species in Council records. "Press the attack," came the order. "You have superior numbers." "Numbers are not enough," Threx said quietly, realizing the truth. These humans know how to fight, but the battle at New Sol was only the beginning. Throughout human space, similar confrontations erupted. Council forces attacked 12 different colonies simultaneously, expecting easy victories. Each time, they found prepared defenses and fierce resistance. At the Busan colony, Captain Minseo Park commanded a small fleet of 5 warships against 50 Council vessels. Rather than engage directly, she led them into an asteroid field where human forces had prepared ambush positions. The Council ships, too large to maneuver effectively, became targets. 20 enemy vessels were disabled before they retreated. At New Tokyo, Colonel Jae-sung Kim commanded ground forces when Council troops attempted a landing. The Council expected to face civilian militia. Instead, they encountered soldiers who had trained for decades in secret. Urban warfare was humanity's specialty. Every street became a kill zone. Every building, a fortress. The Council troops withdrew after losing half their forces without taking a single objective. The pattern repeated across every battlefront. Council forces expected one thing and found another. They expected fear and found determination. They expected surrender and found resistance. But humanity did not fight alone. As the battles continued, other species began joining their cause. The Kalish sent a fleet of 200 ships to support the New Sol defense. The Torvans provided intelligence about Council ship movements. The Meklar offered their space stations as supply points for human forces. In the Galactic Council chamber, panic spread among the delegates. Species that had supported the ultimatum against humanity now watched their military forces fail repeatedly. "How is this possible?" Zixthar demanded. "The humans were contained. They were restricted. They had no military." Ji-hoon Park, who had remained in the chamber as humanity's observer, spoke calmly. "We had no military you knew about." "There's a difference." You violated council law, a delegate accused. You built weapons in secret. We built defenses, Ji-hoon corrected. There's a difference. The council never banned us from protecting ourselves. You just assumed we wouldn't. You assumed we would always depend on your protection. Another mistake. More reports came in. Council forces retreating from 4 more systems. Allies defecting to join humanity. Trade routes disrupted, as younger species refused to follow council orders. Zeek-Thar turned to Ji-hoon. Call off your forces. We will negotiate new terms. No, Ji-hoon said simply. No? You would continue this war? We would continue defending ourselves, Ji-hoon replied. The council attacked us. We're simply showing you that we will not be pushed around anymore. If you want this to stop, withdraw your forces, all of them, from all human systems. Impossible. The council does not surrender. Then the council will keep losing, Ji-hoon said. Because humanity will not stop fighting. Every colony will resist. Every system will defend itself. You can't win this, Speaker. Your forces are designed to intimidate weak species into submission. We are not weak. We are not intimidated. And we will never submit. Around the chamber, delegates from younger species watched with new eyes. For the first time, someone was standing up to the council. For the first time, resistance was actually working. A Kalesh delegate stood. My species officially withdraws from the Galactic Council. We will join the humans in their fight for freedom. A Torvan delegate rose. My people also withdraw. The council has exploited us for too long. More species stood, one after another, declaring their departure from council control. The old order was crumbling. On the Incheon, Admiral Chen received reports from every front. All colonies holding. Admiral. Council forces are pulling back from 6 systems. Enemy morale appears to be breaking. She allowed herself a small smile. They thought we were an easy target. They thought 50 years of restrictions made us helpless. They never considered that 50 years gave us time to prepare. Throughout human space, celebrations were premature, but heartfelt. Colonists emerged from shelters to see council ships retreating. Soldiers received news that their determination was working. Admiral Chen knew the war was not over. But the tide had turned. Commander Threx sat in his command chair, staring at casualty reports. His fleet, once the pride of council military might, was damaged and demoralized. He opened a channel to council headquarters. This is Commander Threx. I must report that human military capability far exceeds our intelligence estimates. Their tactics are superior. Their determination is absolute. Their forces grow stronger as more species join them. I recommend immediate peace negotiations. The response took several minutes. When it came, the voice was defeated. Your recommendation is noted, Commander. Stand by for further orders. Threx knew what those orders would be. Retreat, negotiation, peace. The Council had no choice. They had pushed humanity too far, and now they were paying the price. In the Council chamber, Ji-hoon watched the delegates argue among themselves. Some called for escalation. Others demanded withdrawal. The unity that had existed 30 days ago was gone. The Council was fracturing. He opened a communication to President Kim. President Kim's response was firm. Good, but we negotiate from strength now, not from fear. Humanity will accept nothing less than complete equality and freedom. Ji-hoon smiled. 50 years of patience. 50 years of preparation. It had all led to this moment. The moment when humanity stopped playing nice and showed the galaxy their true strength. 6 months after the first shots were fired at New Sol, the war ended not with a final battle, but with a message. The Galactic Council, once the undisputed authority over thousands of species, requested negotiations. They did not demand. They did not order. They requested. Ji-hoon Park stood once again in the Great Chamber, but everything had changed. The elevated seats that once looked down on him now seemed smaller somehow. The delegates who had spoken with such confidence now appeared uncertain. The chamber that was built to intimidate now felt like a relic of a dying age. But Ji-hoon was not alone this time. Behind him stood representatives from 40 different species. The Kalesh, the Torvans, the Meklar, and dozens of others who had joined humanity's cause. They called themselves the Free Species Alliance. Zixthar, looking older and more tired than before, addressed the assembly. Ambassador Park. The Council acknowledges that the current conflict serves no one's interests. We are prepared to discuss terms. Terms? Ji-hoon repeated. 6 months ago, you gave us an ultimatum. You threatened to destroy our colonies. You attacked our people. Now you want to discuss terms? Around the chamber, the remaining council delegates shifted uncomfortably. They knew their position was weak. Half their members had defected. Their military forces had been repeatedly defeated. Their authority was crumbling. What would humanity have us do? Zixthar asked, and there was genuine defeat in his voice. Ji-hoon looked back at his allies, then faced the council. The Free Species Alliance does not seek the council's destruction. We seek its reformation. The old system is broken. It served the few at the expense of the many. It maintained power through fear and restriction. That must end. He transmitted a document to every screen in the chamber. These are our terms. First, the Galactic Council will dissolve. In its place, we propose the Galactic Assembly. Every species gets equal representation, regardless of age or power. Decisions will be made democratically, not by a ruling elite. Protests erupted from the older council species. Impossible! Younger species lack the wisdom to govern. They lack the wisdom? A Kalesh representative challenged. Or, they lack the corruption? We've seen your secret deals, your manipulation of trade, your exploitation. You call it wisdom. We call it theft, Ji-hoon continued. Second, all monopolies and trade restrictions will end. Free trade between species. Fair access to resources. No more controlling which species can grow and which cannot. Third, all species have the right to defend themselves. No more bans on military development. No more forced dependence on council protection. Fourth, colonization rights will be equal. Every species can expand and grow according to their needs and abilities. Zixthar listened to each term, his antennae drooping lower. You ask us to give up everything. The Council has governed for 10,000 years. The Council has controlled for 10,000 years. Ji-hoon corrected. That's different from governing. True leadership serves the people. It doesn't exploit them. And if we refuse these terms? Threx asked. The military commander sat in the chamber now, his fleet scattered and damaged. Then the war continues. Admiral Chen's voice came through the communication system. Her fleet was still positioned throughout human space, ready to fight. But you know how that will end, Commander. Your forces can't defeat us. More species join our alliance every week. The Council's power is already gone. The only question is whether you accept reality peacefully or learn it the hard way. Silence filled the chamber. The moment stretched as delegates realized they had no choice. The old order was finished. They could accept it with grace or be swept aside by force. A delegate from the Nexar species stood up. They were one of the Council's founding members, ancient and proud. I will vote to accept these terms. Shocked murmurs spread through the chamber. If the Nexar accepted, others would follow. The human is correct, the Nexar delegate continued. We have governed poorly. We grew comfortable and corrupt. We forgot that leadership is service, not power. Perhaps it is time for a new way. One by one, other delegates stood and voiced their agreement. Some did so reluctantly, some with relief. But within an hour, the vote was complete. The Galactic Council agreed to dissolve itself. 3 months later, the first session of the Galactic Assembly convened in a new chamber. This one had no elevated seats. Everyone sat at the same level. The symbolism was clear. President Min-Jun Kim addressed the assembly, the first human to speak in an official galactic government session. Today we begin something new. Not human rule. Not council rule. But cooperation between equals. The galaxy is large enough for all of us. Resources are abundant enough for all to prosper. The only thing that held us back was artificial limits imposed by those who feared change. He looked around at the hundreds of species represented. Humanity does not claim to be perfect. Our history is filled with mistakes and conflicts. But we learned something important. And well, we learned that diversity makes us stronger, that cooperation achieves more than domination, that freedom is more productive than control. We did not start this conflict seeking power. We started it seeking the right to exist without constant restriction. Now we want that same right for every species here. Room to grow. Freedom to succeed. The dignity of self-determination. The speech was met with approval from most of the assembly. Some of the old council species still looked resentful, but even they could not deny the new reality. After the session, Ji-hoon met with Admiral Chen on the observation deck of a station orbiting Earth. They looked out at the blue planet that had given birth to humanity. "We did it," Chen said quietly. "We survived," Ji-hoon corrected. "Winning would have been not needing to fight at all. Do you think it will last? This new assembly?" Ji-hoon considered the question. "As long as we remain vigilant. Power always tries to concentrate. Authority always tries to control. It's in the nature of government. But now, the younger species know they can resist. They know they don't have to accept oppression." Chen nodded. "The council thought our patience was weakness. They thought we would always back down. They never understood that patience and weakness are different things," Ji-hoon said. "We were patient because we were preparing. We endured insults because we were growing stronger. Every restriction they placed on us, we found a way around. Every limitation became a challenge to overcome. And now? Now we make sure the galaxy never needs another war like this," Ji-hoon replied. "We prove that cooperation works better than domination. That freedom is more productive than control. That respect earned through deeds is stronger than respect demanded through force." Far across the galaxy, on the colony world of New Sol, life returned to normal. Children played in parks while their parents worked to rebuild what the war had damaged. But something was different now. The colonists walked with confidence. They looked at the stars, not with fear, but with hope. In a school classroom, a teacher told students about the war, about how humanity refused to surrender, about how patience and preparation led to victory, about how standing up for what's right sometimes requires courage. A young student raised her hand. "Teacher, why did the council hate us so much?" The teacher considered the question carefully. "They didn't hate us, Minji. They feared us. They saw how quickly humanity grew, and worried we would threaten them. But fear makes poor decisions. It makes people try to control what they should cooperate with." "Will they fear us again?" another student asked. "Perhaps," the teacher admitted. "But now they also respect us. They know we will not be pushed around. They know we stand by our principles. Respect based on strength and character lasts longer than control based on fear." On Earth, President Kim received reports from across human space. Colonies were thriving. Trade with other species was growing. The alliance was strengthening. Humanity's position in the galaxy was secure. But he did not celebrate. He remembered the cost. The ships lost. The soldiers who died. The families torn apart by war. Victory had a price, and that price should never be forgotten. He recorded a message to be preserved for future generations. "To those who come after us, remember this. We did not seek conflict. We sought only the right to exist freely. When forced to fight, we fought not for conquest, but for survival. Not for domination, but for dignity. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders. It has room for countless species, countless cultures, countless ways of life. Never forget that our strength comes not from controlling others, but from cooperating with them. Never mistake kindness for weakness, but also never use strength without wisdom. We were pushed too far, and we pushed back. We stopped playing nice because nice was being mistaken for weak. But now that we have proven our strength, we must also prove our character. We must show that humanity deserves its place in the galaxy not through force but through contribution. Not through domination but through dedication. Be strong, but be just. Be proud, but be humble. Be prepared to fight, but always willing to make peace. This is the legacy we leave you. Years later, the story of humanity's stand against the Galactic Council became legend. Other species told it to their children as a lesson in courage. Historians studied it as an example of how power structures can change. Military academies analyzed the tactics that defeated superior numbers. But the most important lesson was simpler. The galaxy learned that humanity, for all their patience and willingness to compromise, had a line that could not be crossed. That when pushed too far, the humans who smiled and negotiated and sought peaceful solutions would reveal something else entirely. They would reveal what 50 years of patience and preparation had created. A species that could fight as fiercely as it could cooperate. A people who valued peace, but would not sacrifice freedom for it. A civilization that preferred to extend the hand of friendship, but kept the other hand ready to defend what mattered. The Galactic Council pushed too far. They learned, too late, that humanity was done playing nice. And in learning that lesson, the galaxy changed forever. Changed for the better. Because sometimes the only way to achieve